Our Labor Day weekend has had varied beginnings. It was in the late 19th century as the trade union and labor movements grew. Different groups of trade unionists chose variety of dates for which to celebrate labor. In the United States, a September holiday called Labor Day was first proposed in the early 1880s. According to one early history of Labor Day, the event originated when the Knights of Labor convened at a General Assembly in New York City in September of 1882. In connection with this assembly, a public parade of various labor organizations was held on September 5th under the sponsorship of the Central Labor Union of New York. Matthew McGuire was the secretary at that time of the CLU and is credited for first proposing that a national labor holiday subsequently be held on the first Monday of each September in the aftermath of this very successful public demonstration. An alternate thesis is held that the idea of Labor Day was the brainchild of Peter J. McGuire, a vice president of the American Federation of Labor. He put forward the initial proposal in the spring of 1882. According to McGuire, on May 8th of 1882, he made the proposition to the fledgling Central Labor Union that a day be set aside for, quote, the general holiday for the laboring classes. According to McGuire, he further recommended that the day should begin with a street parade as a public demonstration of organized labor's solidarity and its strength. Marches were to follow the picnic, in which participating local unions would then sell tickets as fundraisers. Sound familiar? We still have them selling tickets for fundraisers. According to McGuire, he suggested that the first Monday in September was prime because it was right in the middle of Thanksgiving and the 4th of July holidays, and the weather would usually be good. In 1909, the American Federation of Labor convened, and it designated the Sunday preceding Labor Day as Labor Sunday as well. But this was to be dedicated to the spiritual and educational aspects of the labor movement. But this secondary date failed to gain any significant traction in popular culture, so it was never adopted. The American labor movement, made nominally legal by the Roosevelt government in the 1930s, became mostly illegal by the Reagan government in the 1980s. But it is the best anti-poverty initiative that the United States has ever had in its history. Demographically speaking, many Unitarian Universalist baby boomers are much like my mom, with working-class parents who benefited from rising union-sponsored wages. They got educations, and in turn, my generation received educations and even graduate degrees. And while we enjoyed the luxury of higher education, many of the jobs that my grandparents, and in some cases even parents, spent their lives doing these jobs, and they have now been outsourced. Unions work because they go to the root of the poverty problem. Instead of handing out foodstuffs, they help our fellow human beings be paid a living wage for a day's work. That does not often happen today. Between 1979 and 2001, the earnings of the top 20% of Americans raised by over 50%. The earnings of the bottom 20% did not change one bit. Today, the average CFO makes more money in 180 minutes than the average person making minimum wage makes all year. And each year for the past decade, 20,000 workers have been fired for just talking about unionizing. Now, it's not all bad all the time. According to a governmental poll, 64% of U.S. workers do enjoy their work. Quite quite a great deal. 29% enjoy it somewhat, and while just 5% don't care for work at all. When it comes to work-life balance, only 50% feel that they actually have things down. Every month, workers bring lunch to work 8 days. They eat while working 7.5 days, and they buy lunch at or near their work 6 days a month. Sometimes they skip lunch entirely, about 4 days a month. 60% of workers work nonstop through their shift without taking any breaks at all. 28% of women say a snack break would help them be much more productive during the day. And according to a poll that was taken by Dreyer's Ice Cream, 30% of all young workers 18 to 34 claim that free ice cream would boost daily morale. It could have been Edie's, whichever way, Now, most of you have heard me say on more than one occasion that I have a little human resources built up in my DNA, as my mother has been on that career path since before I can remember. Unions in the labor movement can be a tricky subject depending on who is at the table and whose voices are being heard. Sometimes people in her position must choose new employees per the directive of unions, and others have free will to discover new staff on their own. I'm sure you all have read at least one article on how difficult it is to hire and keep millennials. So, did you hear about the young college graduate who was interviewing for his first job? When the HR director asked him what he was looking for, the young man explained that he wished to start at a salary of $100,000, be placed in a corner office. He wished to have his own secretary as well. So the HR director responded by offering to add a matching dollar for dollar to his 401k, as well as an automobile of his choice, preferably a BMW. Well, he looked at the young man and asked how that sounded. And the young man replied, "Are you kidding me?" And the HR director said, "Well, of course I am, but you started it." Sometimes labors are those of love or of the heart. Volunteering your time, donating food to food banks, mentoring young ones, knitting for those in need in the wintertime, and the like. Sometimes labors of love occur even when we know we'll never get any real return for our efforts. Kind of like my completion of my master's degree. The completion of this is more than you guys can imagine to me. The support and the encouragement y'all have given me is immense. So I hold in my hand my Master's of Social Change and my certificate in UU Studies. I could not have done it without all of you. This is a labor of love. I know that I will never be able to work as a full-time minister, and yet you supported me the whole way through to finish my education, and that's big for me. Thank you. I'm glad that we could have taken those couple of minutes to liven things up just a little bit and for me to share with you my heart, because the next bit of statistics are definitely not very funny. 37 million working Americans live in poverty, and almost half of them work at least 2 jobs. Poor people stop being poor when they get fair wages, inherent worth and dignity, equity. Does that sound familiar? Isn't this one of our highest callings for transformation as Unitarian Universalists? Let's reflect on this. In the United States today, the average Euro-American has a net worth of around $80,000. The average Latinx American has a net worth of $8,000. Yeah, that's an entire decimal point. But the average African American has a net worth of $6,000. Tell me that we don't have a huge wage gap here. We can help further along Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign, fighting racial injustice by eradicating war and poverty while bringing a sense of equality amongst all of our races. Dangerous consequences will follow when politicians and rulers forget moral principles, His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said. Whether we believe in God or karma or what have you, ethics is the foundation of every religion. And so here we are. Our politicians truly have forgotten their moral compasses. Even those who proclaim to be deeply dedicated to their faith have gone astray. We read in the 4th book of Philippians in the 8th chapter, quote, "Work in a way that is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy." And I'm not too sure that that's happening on Capitol Hill anymore. So dangerous consequences are following. We see it every day on the news. And so the principles of Unitarian Universalism call us to action. They call us to take action, to not just sit on the sidelines. It's a call to consider how industries such as banking and education, consulting, manufacturing, and the such must change. It's also a call to pay it forward, to find a brief moment in your day to be kind. Many of our labors are of love, whether they be family-related, work-related, or school-related. There's always a moment to act as if we really believe in the interdependent web of all existence. Our work as UUs cannot remain the same when we peel back the curtain and recognize its true purpose. And once we realize this higher calling of our work, then the real work begins. Now, doing these labors of love and this work need not be backbreaking. You can join the UUSC, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, and get information all about the good works that they do all around the world. Learn more about the Lucy Stone Initiative, the first Unitarian Universalist cooperative living community. When you stay in a hotel, you can just ask the management if staff is unionized. You could join the UUJEC, which is the Unitarian Universalists for a Just Economic Community, and learn more about what is just and equitable and how that can mean in action. You can help to revive the Poor People's Campaign with UUs standing side by side with the Reverend Dr. William Barber and thousands of others willing to challenge the economic and social status quo. You can march with striking workers, march with women for equal pay, march with Black Lives Matter for racial equality. Closer to home, you can join the Unitarian Universalist Justice Florida group that's fighting for democratic fairness, the reinstatement of voting rights for ex-felons, reproductive rights, and they are also fighting tooth and nail for our delicate environment here in Florida by signing on to an expanded climate change adaptation project that many Florida congregations have acted on. That is in addition to the climate change action that the UUA has put out. And don't forget, when the minimum wage bill comes back to Congress, insist that they raise the minimum wage and that it is not tied to any pork-filled bill. And this is so that the richest 8 100,000 Americans do not hold millions hostage. So we Unitarian Universalists have a message for this nation and for this world, and it is this: the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. These are our principles, and not only do we stand behind them, we are called to act until these principles become a reality. So as I wind down this morning, I give you one task for this week. Find an anonymous stranger and show them their inherent worth and dignity with a random act of kindness, a true labor of love, and I know all of you can do it. One small random act of kindness passed from person to person will make this whole world a much kinder place to be indeed. This morning, from my labors of love to yours, namaste, and may it all be so. Our church is solely... I lost my words here. We're going to have the offering now. Our church is solely supported by the funds that we raise by our friends and our members here of the church. And Bobby's going to play us some music. Awesome. Here we go.